1984 by George Orwell is an anti-dystopian book in which the government is reversed, where freedom is slavery, war is peace, and ignorance is strength. It shows people acting in strange ways and describes it as normal, making it unnerving to hear about them. Within the story, there are constant wars, unhealthy homes, and starving people. The protagonist, Winston, lives in a place called Oceania. It is one of 3 superstates in the world, along with East Asia and Eurasia. The war switches throughout the story, between being allied with East Asia and at war with Eurasia, to being allied with Eurasia and at war with East Asia. Despite the already poor conditions of the world, the people are also in a state of being constantly watched by Big Brother and the party who control all of Oceania. The story follows Winston, a 39-year-old man, through his attempts to escape the restricting society. While his hate for the party builds, he comes in contact with a dark-haired woman who slips him a note. This sparks a treasonous love affair throughout the story. The story builds suspense by always leaving the reader wondering what exactly will get Winston caught by the party. When the party catches people who aren't exactly how they want in words, thoughts, or actions, they vanish them or erase them from all of society, leaving people who knew them to forget they ever existed. It also creates a state of confusion on how Winston is ever going to come out on top of his situation, one man against the world. One theme that can be seen in 1984 is the dangers of totalitarianism. The story warns about the effects of having one leader in control of everything by showing the harsh living environments and rough economic conditions of this anti-dystopian world. Another theme is the importance of individual freedoms. In this distant world, nobody has freedom, and everything is controlled by the party. It shows how people continue to crave those freedoms and will rebel in order to get them. Freedom is the freedom to say that 2 + 2 make 4. If that is granted, all else follows. This passage in the story is significant because it creates a definition of freedom that is used throughout the story. It talks about how whatever the party has said is true and is what is considered true, and that's all you're allowed to think. So freedom is the ability to have the truth and to think the truth, regardless of what the party says is true. We are the dead. Our only true life is in the future. We shall take part in it as handfuls of dust and splinters of bone. This is significant because despite Winston wanting to excite change and fight against the party, there's a limited amount that he can do, and he won't see change in his lifetime. It also shows that he knows that whatever he does now will affect the future, but not as much as he wants it to. Then where does the past exist, if at all? In records. It is written down. In records and in the mind, in human memories. In memory. Very well then. We, the party, control all records, and we control all memories. Then we control the past, do we not? This passage is significant because it shows just how powerful the party is in this world. It creates a reality where everything, past, present, future, is controlled by the highest power. They are able to change reality by simply saying what is true. George Orwell uses a direct and journalistic style in order to convey a point without the long use of metaphors or allusions. I think the most interesting part of his writing style is how it writes whatever Winston believes at the time as the current truth of the whole story. The reason I read this book was because my mom recommended it to me when I mentioned the project. I later learned that it's one of my dad's favorite stories, although I think he might have just watched the movie. After reading this book, I noticed a lot of similarities to the way things are now, and how the reality the book created is not so far-fetched. I noticed different things I didn't realize were a form of control. For example, in the story, it talks about how the lottery was a distraction to keep people from committing thought crimes, much like how a parent will give a kid an electronic to distract them from doing something bad. It also gave me a different outlook on whether the control in the story is all that bad, and whether or not society would be able to function the way it does if that control was never established. It also led me to question whether or not the party's goals were wrong, and whether they were trying to protect the society or just gain power over all the people within it.